Everyone thinks that teens in our world today use alcohol, tobacco, or drugs to cope with everyday struggles. You may think they do.
But they don't. Welcome to the But They Don't podcast, a podcast for teens by teens. Join us as we cover substance use prevention, mental health, community conversations, and more. Hey man, you want to hit my vape?
No.
Welcome back to another episode of But They Don't. Did you know that approximately 90% of teens experience peer pressure? Peer pressure occurs when peers influence you to change your attitudes, decisions, behaviors, or beliefs.
This week we're going to be tackling the subject of peer pressure. A lot of times most kids are told to stay away from peer pressure, but that made us think that we're never always told what to do if we get stuck in a situation where we're peer pressured.
Some of the information we are sharing with you today is from yourlifecounts.org. Let's dive in.
So one way that you can avoid peer pressure is being aware and paying attention to your surroundings in certain environments and how you feel about them. If you know that you're going to go somewhere that people will be drinking or smoking, then make sure that you know that before you go in, so that way you can judge the environment and make smart decisions when you get there and you don't have to think about it on the spot and react like in a harsh way.
Talk to people that are peer pressuring you. Tell them how it makes you feel and tell them to stop, and explain to them why you think it's wrong that they're doing this, what you think is wrong with them doing this to you, and just explain to them everything that you are uncomfortable with when you're around them.
Especially if it's a close friend that's trying to pressure you, then that's always a little bit more difficult. But if you're open with them, that can definitely help. If it's somebody that you're not so comfortable with, then that's a different situation, but it's still a similar way, is just tell them no and tell them, this is how this is making me feel. It's uncomfortable, which can always be scary, but it's better than giving in and doing something that you're going to regret in the future. Something else that you can do is have a secret code with a friend that you know is not going to be pressuring or doing any of these things, which can sound a little silly, but it's a good idea because, if you're there and you just don't know how to tell somebody else without being, you don't want to be direct about it in front of other people, then having a secret code with somebody, just like a code word or a phrase to let them know that you're uncomfortable with what's happening, that can definitely help you get out of a situation without having to cause too much attention to yourself or making yourself feel uncomfortable or threatened even.
Another excuse, if you don't have a secret code, is to make up something to leave the area or get away from them. For example, you could just say, no, I have to go study, I have to go to practice, I have maybe a job I have to go to. Just make an excuse to leave the area or get away from those people that are around you, especially if they are close to you, or even if they're not close to you, just find a way to get away from them.
And if you're already in the area before and you need an excuse, maybe you could say you have to run to the bathroom, or you have a call on your phone, so you have to run outside to answer a call, something like that. And another thing that can happen is if somebody asks you and you say no, but they keep insisting and they want to get that answer out of you, so they keep insisting and saying, oh, come on, just try it. Then, you just keep saying no. Make sure that you're firm and standing your ground, because if you give in at all, then they're going to take advantage of that. So just make sure you're strong in what your beliefs are, so that way you're confident in the decisions you're making.
Which will also lead us to, if your friends are sitting there pressuring you, get rid of those friends. Try to stay with people who aren't going to be pressuring you to do anything you don't want. If they're not keeping you safe as a good friend should, stay in a safe environment with people that you know and trust. Don't be with people who you think are your friends who are pressuring you and trying to get you to do these things that you don't want.
Environment makes a huge difference, because if you're somewhere that you're not really comfortable with people that you're not comfortable with, that can be a big problem. So make sure that you're either got somebody you're comfortable with that you know won't pressure you. Just make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people at the right places. Another thing you can use is called the 101 method, which basically is if it's a one-on-one situation. So if somebody's repeatedly asking you and pushing you to do something and you've constantly told them no and they're just not listening, then shoot it back towards them. Ask them why they do it or what they get out of it, or if they even know what it's doing to their body. See if they know the cause and the risks, and if they're understanding of what's happening and willing to take that risk, and why they do it to themselves and why they want to do it to somebody else.
So now let's think, if there's nowhere for you to go and you can't escape, think of a way to change the topic of conversation, or suggest a different activity for you and the peers to attend, or talk about something completely different like food, or maybe a fun game that you all like to play, just to change the conversation and to distract the peer pressure.
Yeah, changing the conversation is probably a safer bet in most situations, because you might not always be in an environment where there's other activities that you can do to get away from it. So just make sure you're aware of your surroundings, so you know, hey, I could suggest we do this, or just change the conversation to something completely different, so that way the mood will kind of change in the room. And most importantly, be aware of what could happen if you give in, because it can be difficult to resist pressure, especially if it's a lot of people that you trust. So be aware of the consequences of your actions if you decided to give in, and just know that it's always going to be better to make a decision that you know you won't regret in the future. Even if you're not sure how it'll affect you, just make sure you're aware of the consequences of what could happen if you give in to pressure.
That is all of the steps that we are able to provide to you today of how to avoid peer pressure. So I am going to ask Gabe, what have you been doing lately, Gabe, that we could talk about today in this podcast that relates to peer pressure with your very interesting life?
So for me personally, I'm involved in the band program at my school. This week we actually had our concert, so we had the jazz band perform and then 2 of our concert groups. And being in band is definitely a commitment, but it's worth it. You make really great friendships, you meet new people, you find a new passion, something that you can enjoy and maybe make a career out of. It's a lot of fun. You get good experiences. It provides you with opportunities to do in your personal time, so that way you have something going on. It can help you not necessarily be distracted, but have something that you are passionate towards and always want to work for and get better at.
That's really good that you do band to distract you. That finishes off our episode. Did you know that May 8th through the 14th is National Prevention Week? We all have the power to prevent substance misuse and promote positive mental health in Pickens County, whether by supporting someone who's going through a difficult time or instilling healthy habits in our children from an early age. Visit SAMHSA's website to learn more.
So for our upcoming events, remember May 21st, we have our Teen Kickoff Movie Night in partnership with the Pickens City Police Department. Again, we're going to be showing Grease. It's for middle and high school teens in Pickens County. Middle school showing's at 5 and the high school showing is at 7:30. We want everybody to be there in their best Grease-themed outfits, ready to have fun and get along with some new people. We can't wait for this event and more safe, fun events for teens continuing into the fall of this year.
You can follow the Youth Board on social media, for Facebook at Pickens County Youth Board, and on Instagram and TikTok at We Are PCYB.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you tune in next week.